Caitlin Clark was back at practice today. I saw the video. She was in practice in workout attire.
It wasn't the injury. It wasn't the weeks she missed. And it definitely wasn't the rehab schedule. The moment that changed everything for Caitlin Clark, for the Indiana Fever, and maybe even for the entire WNBA lasted just 10 minutes. 10 minutes behind closed doors. 10 minutes where no cameras were allowed. 10 minutes that would decide whether Clark was ready to return, or if the Fever's playoff hopes were about to collapse. Nobody saw it happen. But what happened inside that gym? It's sending shockwaves across the league. Because it wasn't just a comeback story. It was a warning. Caitlin Clark didn't just return to practice. She returned with a look in her eyes the league hadn't seen before. And according to sources close to the team, even her own coach was left speechless. But how did we get here? How did the league's most electrifying rookie vanish into radio silence, only to return with rumors, tension, and a fire that's been building for weeks? To understand what really happened, we need to rewind. Back to the moment everything went quiet. For nearly 3 weeks, Caitlin Clark disappeared. No press conferences. No practice footage. Not even a courtside appearance. The WNBA's biggest name gone. Just like that. At first, it was brushed off. Just a minor groin tweak, they said. Nothing serious. But days turned into weeks, and the silence only grew louder. The Fever organization said next to nothing. No timeline. No medical breakdown. No signs of progress. The fanbase? Spiraling. Social media turned into a guessing game. Conspiracy theories, injury rumors, even retirement chatter started bubbling up. The most-watched rookie in years, completely off the radar. And right when the Fever needed her most, she missed the All-Star game in her own city. That hurt. Not just for the team or the fans, but for the league. Because Clark isn't just a player. She's the WNBA spotlight. When she's not on the court, the energy shifts. The noise fades. The arenas get a little quieter. And while she was off the court, the Fever were struggling to find consistency. Grinding out games. Holding on to a playoff spot by their fingertips. But without their floor general, everything just looked a little off. What made it worse? Her trip to New York. Reports suggested she was flown out to see a top-tier specialist. The kind of move you make when things aren't healing right. The kind of trip that doesn't scream, minor tweak. And still no real update. For fans, this wasn't just frustrating, it was terrifying. Because when you build an entire system around a star, and that star goes dark, you're not just losing a player, you're risking the whole foundation. But then, like a plot twist straight out of a movie, she was back. And not the way anyone expected. It happened on a Monday. Scott Agnes, one of the most plugged-in Fever reporters, casually dropped a practice clip. No dramatic headline. No cryptic caption. Just a few seconds of footage that broke the internet. There she was. Caitlin Clark. Not in sweats. Not on crutches. But in full practice gear, moving with the team. Within minutes, the video blew up. X, Instagram, YouTube flooded. Theories, hype reels, reactions everywhere. Some fans celebrated. Some questioned. Others just stared, replaying the same 5 seconds on loop. Was she back? Was this a full return or just a tease? Was she actually ready? Or was this a PR stunt to calm the noise? Because here's the thing, the clip only showed her jogging, passing light drills. Nothing explosive. Nothing concrete. And that just added fuel to the fire. Behind the scenes, phones were lighting up. Agents, reporters, even opposing teams. Everyone wanted to know what's really going on inside that gym. But the real story wasn't in the footage. It was in the silence that followed. Because while the world freaked out over a 15-second video, something way bigger had just gone down. A closed-door session, a silent gym, and 10 minutes of practice that would shake the entire league. What happened next, no fans saw. No cameras caught it. No leaks hit the timeline. It was a closed-door session, and it felt more like a trial than a workout. Coach Stephanie White stood courtside, locked in. Not coaching. Not encouraging. Just watching. Eyes glued to one player. Caitlin Clark. Every move was tracked. Every step, every jump, every hesitation dissected. And standing nearby, the medical staff, clipboards in hand, whispering back and forth. This wasn't just practice. This was a decision point, because Clark wasn't returning from just one injury. She'd already had a quad strain in May, and now this nagging groin issue had dragged on since July. Add in the brutal physical targeting she faces every night, and her body had already taken more hits than most veterans see in a full season. Coach White knew what was at stake. The Fever were sitting 6th in the standings, barely hanging onto a playoff seed. And while they'd proven they could survive without Clark, they couldn't thrive. Not without their engine. So those 10 minutes? They were everything. The gym was dead silent. No music, no talking, no casual drills. Just tension. Heavy and still. Even teammates pulled back, watching cautiously as Clark began running sets. Cutting through the lane. Pulling up off screens. Changing direction at full speed. And something became clear, fast. This wasn't a half-hearted return. This wasn't a test-the-waters session. This was vintage Caitlinclark, sharp, explosive, fearless. The hesitation that haunted her last return? Gone. The stiffness? Nowhere in sight. And that grimace she wore every time she moved wrong? Replaced by intensity. But the most important part? Coach White saw it. And in that exact moment, the entire course of the Fever's season might have changed. While the world was glued to Caitlinclark's every movement, something else was happening on the Fever roster, and it was just as important. Sophie Cunningham had quietly become the glue. At the start of the season, she was a solid piece, not flashy, not viral, not headlining anything. But when Clark went down, Sophie flipped a switch. She didn't just fill minutes. She took control of the court. Game after game, she played with a fire that felt personal, stepping into scraps, taking hard fouls, barking back at opponents. Her game wasn't just elevated, it was ferocious. That's when fans gave her a new nickname, Spicy Sophie. She went viral after standing up to the Connecticut Sun, refusing to back down while the rest of the league took cheap shots at a Clark-less Fever squad. That one moment, it changed everything. Overnight, her Instagram exploded, past 1.2 million followers. Brand deals started circling. She went from backup wing to face of the fight. But this wasn't just about Sophie's breakout. It was about protection. She became Clark's unofficial bodyguard. The muscle. The one player willing to take the heat, so Clark didn't have to. In a league that had been targeting Clark with brutal physical play, Cunningham was the wall. And her message to the team? No one likes us. That's fine. We like each other. It became a rallying cry. With Sophie stepping up and the team embracing an us-against-everyone mentality, the Fever didn't just survive Clark's absence, they thrived. They won the Commissioner's Cup without their superstar. They played harder, faster, meaner. They became a team you didn't want to play. So when Clark stepped back onto that court, she wasn't stepping into the same locker room she'd left. The dynamic had changed. There was new energy, new grit, and Sophie was at the center of it. Stephanie White isn't the kind of coach who plays it safe. Throughout the season, she'd been fined for criticizing officiating, challenged the league's silence on Clark's treatment, and pushed back against pressure from all sides. But nothing compared to the decision she faced after those 10 minutes of practice. Because what she saw in Clark wasn't just physical recovery. It was fire. And with that fire came a dangerous choice. Clark didn't want minute restrictions. She wasn't asking for light duty or gradual ramp-ups. She told the staff, in no uncertain terms, either I play full speed or I don't play at all. It went against everything most teams would do with a franchise rookie coming off multiple injuries. Conventional wisdom says protect the asset. Ease her in. Take no risks. But that's not who Caitlinclark is. And more importantly, that's not how Stephanie White coaches. So what did she do? After the closed practice ended, Clark and White had a long, private conversation. Nearly 20 minutes behind locked doors. No cameras. No staff. Just the two of them. When White finally stepped out, she smiled. And that meant everything. Because White hadn't smiled much all season. Not during pressers. Not after wins. Not while watching her star player miss the biggest stretch of games.
But now?
Something had shifted. Immediately, rotations were reworked. Playbooks were adjusted. Minutes were moved around. White knew the risk. She knew if Clark went down again, especially this close to the playoffs, the season could implode. But she also knew this team wasn't going to the next level without number 22 running the floor. This wasn't just a coaching decision. It was a gamble on timing, momentum, and the mindset of a player who lives for the edge. And now, everything was in motion. Caitlinclark's absence wasn't just felt on the scoreboard. It hit the league in a place even more sensitive. The wallet. Every game she missed, ticket sales dropped. TV ratings dipped. Merch sales slowed. Because Clark isn't just a rookie. She's a movement. She's the reason arenas that used to fill half their seats now sell out hours after tickets go live. She's the reason why highlight reels from women's basketball are cracking millions of views daily. And she's the reason ESPN, Nike, and half of corporate America are suddenly watching every second of the WNBA calendar. So when she sat out, the ripple effect was brutal. Entire road games lost their buzz. National broadcasts shifted focus. Even scalpers were reporting that resale prices were crashing without her name on the lineup. And you better believe the league noticed. There were whispers, subtle, quiet pressure, urging the Fever to fast-track her return. The kind of pressure that doesn't get spoken in public, but is very real behind boardroom doors. Because when Caitlinclark is on the floor, everyone profits. But here's where things got complicated. The Indiana Fever didn't fold. Coach White and the team's front office made it clear, long-term health over short-term headlines. No matter what the league wanted, no matter how badly the ratings needed her, they protected their star. And that move, it sent a message, not just to the WNBA, but to every young player watching. This team wasn't here to burn out their rookie for a couple viral moments. They were playing the long game. Now that she's back, the gears are already turning again. Secondary market ticket prices are exploding. National coverage is ramping up. And the Fever? They're suddenly everyone's favorite topic again. But this comeback wasn't just business. Because what Clark brought back with her wasn't just money. It was momentum. The biggest surprise from that closed-door practice wasn't that Caitlinclark looked healthy. It's how she played. Sources close to the team revealed something that stunned even the coaching staff. Clark was calling for isolation plays. Not once, not twice, repeatedly.
Think about that.
This is a player who built her reputation on vision, passing, court awareness, the classic floor general. She dishes dimes, spreads the floor, gets teammates involved. But that day, she wanted the ball in her hands. Alone. No screens. No set plays. Just her and the defender in front of her. And here's what really made people stop and stare. She wasn't avoiding contact. She was initiating it. She went straight into defenders. She took bumps and kept going. She played through physicality without even glancing at the bench. No winces. No cautious steps. No second-guessing. This wasn't rehab mode Clark. This was revenge mode Clark. Because something had changed. The tentative energy she showed earlier in the season was gone. The hesitation? Erased. And in its place, a player who had something to prove. Some say it was frustration. Weeks of watching from the sidelines while her team fought without her. Some say it was anger at the fouls that didn't get called, the critics that questioned her toughness, the fans who wondered if she was overrated. But whatever it was, it lit her up. Coaches said they hadn't seen her that aggressive since her final weeks in college ball. Teammates whispered that it didn't feel like rookie Clark anymore. It felt like a veteran stepping into her power. Even the medical staff had to step in, reminding her to pull back. But according to insiders, Clark just shook her head. She wasn't here to ease in. She was here to dominate. And if she could bring that same fire into actual games, the league might not be ready. At first glance, they don't even seem like they belong on the same team. Caitlinclark, calm, calculated, surgical on the court. She plays like a tactician, always reading, always anticipating. The ball rarely sticks in her hands for more than a second. Sophie Cunningham, raw emotion. Brash, fiery, the kind of player who dives into scrums, talks trash, and thrives off chaos. She doesn't just play the game, she sets it on fire. But together, they might just be the perfect storm. Because when Clark returned to practice, it wasn't just the plays that looked different. It was the vibe, the energy, and Cunningham was feeding it. You could see it in the way they moved. Clark running the floor with her signature vision, Cunningham crashing into defenders to clear a lane. You could hear it in the way they talked. Clark calmly calling sets, Cunningham barking orders like a seasoned vet. Two completely different styles. One shared goal: win at all costs. Sources inside the Fever locker room say the two have developed a quiet respect. Cunningham admires Clark's composure. Clark leans on Sophie's edge. It's not flashy. It's not built for Instagram. But it works. Because Cunningham takes the hits so Clark doesn't have to. She stirs the pot, draws the foul, takes the flagrant, while Clark stays focused on torching defenses. It's the kind of partnership that doesn't show up on stat sheets. But ask any coach in the league and they'll tell you, you need both. You need a general and you need a bodyguard. And when both are in sync, you don't just have a team, you have a problem for every opponent. This duo wasn't handpicked. It wasn't built in some front office strategy session. It was forged in adversity, Clark's injuries, the league's physicality, the noise from outside.
And now,
it might be the secret weapon that takes the Fever from playoff hopeful to title threat. Now the real test begins. Caitlinclark is back. The Fever are surging. The league is watching. But there's no easing into this next stretch. No warm-up games. No bottom-of-the-standings opponents. What lies ahead is a gauntlet. The Liberty, the Aces, the Lynx, three of the WNBA's most dangerous squads, all lined up like sharks, smelling blood in the water. And every one of them wants a piece of Caitlinclark. But this isn't the same rookie who entered the league wide-eyed and targeted. This is a player with battle scars, fire in her step, and a chip on her shoulder the size of Indiana. And the Fever? They're no longer underdogs. They've got the league's most watched player, a red-hot enforcer, and a coach who just bet the season on a full-speed comeback. Every game from here on out, must watch, must win, must survive. It's all building to something bigger. Something no rookie should be carrying, but Clark isn't just any rookie. This final stretch will test everything. Her body, her leadership, her limits, and the Fever's ability to rise under pressure with the whole world watching. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. If Clark does deliver, if she storms through this final leg with the same fire she showed in those 10 secret minutes of practice, she won't just change the Fever season. She'll change the WNBA's future. So was it just 10 minutes of practice? Or was it something bigger? A warning, a spark, a turning point not just for a team, but for an entire league that's still learning how to handle Caitlinclark. Because let's be honest, her return isn't just a lineup change. It's a shift in gravity. The media flocks, the seats fill, the energy explodes. And now, with the playoffs looming, the pressure has never been heavier. But here's what makes it dangerous. She doesn't just want to return. She wants to dominate. She's coming back not as the star rookie, but as the storm. And whether the Fever rise or fall from here, one thing is certain. You're going to want to see it happen.
so what do you think?
Will Caitlinclark play full speed from Game 1? Will the Fever make a deep playoff run? Or burn out under the pressure? And will Sophie Cunningham become the unexpected X factor in all of it? Drop your thoughts below. Your predictions, your doubts, your hot takes. Because if the last 10 minutes were any indication, this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning.